After back-to-back ugly losses at home, the Warriors traveled to face the Spurs in San Antonio with Wembanyama this time. It was the combo of Chris Paul, Trayce, Jackson Davis pick and rolls that pulled the ugly win out, with both flirting with triple doubles. TJD led the team with a plus 20, so let's break down their actions. Things were not looking great once again with a deficit in the first quarter. With CP3 getting the ball on the left wing, Podziemski tries to set a cross screen, but Wemby easily counters by going under the pick. Jackson Davis' role is to send empty side pick and roll for CP3 to attack the middle of the court. With Wemby in drop position, we all know this doesn't technically count as a drop since his ridiculous wingspan can pretty much contest any shot. But credit TJD's solid screen that gets Keldon Johnson to trail very far behind, and using his own roll threat to test out Wembanyama's discipline. This allows Chris Paul to read the defense of whether to pull up or throw the potential lob. When Wemby tries to stunt before recovering to the roll man, Chris Paul uses his brilliance and fakes the pass first before going into a one-legged floater. CP3, as we know, is a maestro in the pick and roll from all those years in Lob City. TJD does not hesitate to immediately go into a dribble handoff, and this becomes another empty side pick and roll action with the Spurs guard chasing and Wemby in the drop. Again, Chris Paul maintains his composure as a 6-foot point guard in the paint, able to test out whether Wemby will stunt, then recover to help on the roll man. The half second that Wemby decides to play Jackson Davis, Paul takes advantage of the rim for another nice layup. Super underrated bucket. The duel kept running it, but this time it is the Spain pick and roll. This action is quite common in today's NBA and is one of Paul's favorites. The initial TJD pick leads to Wemby another drop and the Spurs guard chasing, but the second action is a back screen on TJD's man in Wemby, set by a guard in Brandon Podziemski. This tests out whether the defense is switching or playing straight up, and usually can lead to either an alley-oop dunk or a kick out to the guard for an open three-pointer. But with Wesley unsure whether to pop out to Podziemski or focus on Chris Paul, he ends up playing a drop, but it's too late. Great read by the point guard to pull up for an open elbow mid-range. After a 5-0 run to start the second, we got both Wiggins and TJD to simultaneously set screens on CP3's man for him to choose which way to attack. Because they've been producing high quality looks, Paul chooses the rookie towards his left hand. San Antonio will continue to stick to this coverage of the guard fighting over the screen, and credit TJD again for timing his roll to the basket to not only avoid the moving screen call, but get a 2-on-1 advantage with Wemby, who is currently in the drop. With Wemby thinking about 3 buckets that Paul just scored on him, this attracts him higher up outside the paint, and what a basketball savant Paul is to see this in advance and counter this coverage by throwing the lead alley-oop pass to Jackson Davis. Here he finishes the big jam. The Paul TJD pick and roll is absolutely eating this entire game. On an out of bounds, we give the CP, who immediately gets 2 stagger screens for him to attack towards his right. With the Spurs not switching and the guard stuck on the first Podziemski screen, TJD sees this and instantly slips to create an advantage, bringing his man with him. Now Paul is able to attack the middle of the court with no resistance, and the second he sees Zach Collins backpedaling, this gives him the green light to toss it right on the money to the rookie for another impressive slam. Great execution. Seriously, nothing super complicated. Another high pick and roll, and we got the guard fighting over and Collins in the drop. But this time, Paul sees Collins a little too focused on him and his dribble penetration, leaving too much room for the roll man. This perfect bounce pass gets Jackson Davis to catch and go up strong with all his momentum towards the rim, and he's able to outmuscle Collins in midair and convert the layup. I want to show an example of what happens when it's a trigger-happy guard in Klay Thompson using the Jackson Davis pick and roll. The Spurs will always play the same defensive coverage, assuming the guard will fight over and Wemby will play drop. Another deceptive skill set of TJD to roll at the right time to not only avoid the moving screen call once again, but also force the Spurs to try and switch. However, this gives Klay an opportunity to catch Wemby a little too far low, as he does not know whether they've communicated the switch. Klay rises up for an open 3-point pull-up. I've always admired the point guard's ability to stay composed on the court with literal giants and maintain his dribble. With another high pick and roll with Draymond, Paul sees Wemby in a drop and snakes his pick in order to give time to Dre to roll, forcing a switch onto Wemby. This is a mismatch for both ways, but Paul knows the entire time that he would never imagine shooting over this 7'4" human being. Since he was hot, he was waiting for that perfect opportunity to pump fake Wembanyama and freeze the entire defense, before trusting a teammate like Kuminga here to back cut right to the basket. Vassell's caught ball watching after being all of CP3's dribbling skills, letting JK go on the baseline for the big two-handed dunk. One last example of a high pick and roll with TJD. Again, Jones will be fighting to recover and the big man Zach Collins is in a drop. Chris Paul slows his dribble down, uses his lower body strength to not only lock the guard behind him, but give Jackson Davis just enough time to play the roll man as a threat as well and attract Collins for just a half second. This gap is all CP3 needs to create space towards his right for a pull-up mid-range. This man is just playing with us. There you guys have it. In a race to avoid the play-in as much as possible, the Warriors lost Steph Curry to a hopefully short ankle injury a few days ago and lost 2 in a row to weaker teams. These games are must-wins for a squad chasing them wins, giving an opportunity for the second-string point guard and Chris Paul to lead last night. CP3 was able to abuse the pick and roll with the rookie Trayce Jackson Davis and create advantages for either the roll man or an alley-oop pass, or allowed the guard to read the coverages and score for himself. With an all-time defensive big in Wemby playing safety, the 6-foot guard was able to read the game in a masterful way, and I could not help but break down this ability. Now onto a big matchup against the Mavs, so if you guys like this breakdown, like and subscribe to see more.